Hello YouTube, I'm Wardy, and I'm back. I'm back at home as well, so the quality is kind of back to what you're used to. I saw a couple of people commenting the last week or so, Wardy, why is it low quality? Why is the audio sound weird? This isn't the Wardy I like to listen to. Me neither, guys. I was, of course, in Ukraine casting the WESG Grand Finals, and because of that I did cast a couple of series for the YouTube channel from Ukraine, which means I had my laptop set up, which just means a lower quality microphone, obviously maybe not as great of a setup to record on as well. But that's all beyond us now, and I'm back this week with more YouTube exclusives, of course. And this is a series from WESG. It's one of the quarterfinals. In fact, it's the only quarterfinal I didn't get to cast. I think it's a really cool matchup. And there was one game in particular I wanted to cast from this. Let's introduce the players first. Top left-hand side, our blue Protoss is Neeb. And he's up against the red Terran player to the bottom right-hand side, Maru, in this best-of-5 series. So while I sort of offhandedly watched this, I didn't watch it super in-depth. I know for a fact that Game 2 is really awesome, and I was really oohing and ahhing, like, should I just cast Game 2 or should I cast the series? And I figured, you know what, I'll cast the full series for you guys. But, as always, I love to know in the YouTube comments down below whether you would have just rather seen, like, the game that I think is the best, or whether you'd like to see the full series and see how things go, even if the other games aren't quite as amazing. Let me know. I always want to hear from you guys down in the comments below. And, of course, if you end up enjoying the video, don't forget to leave a like, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We're pushing them 7,000 YouTube subscribers right now. That is our goal. We're going to work it. We're going to work it hard to get there. So, if you enjoy the channel, if you enjoy the content, enjoy the casting, it goes a long way if you hit that subscribe button. We're putting out daily content for you guys to enjoy, and we're going to be experimenting with a couple of different formats of content this week as well. You'll see more of that in the next couple of days, I am sure, if you're following the channel. For now, though, it's a PVT here from the WSG Grand Finals, then quarterfinals, best of 5. I mean, I actually cast Neeb Maru once this year already, back in the IEM qualifiers, and back then Neeb actually had a really good game number 2. I believe it was Port Alexander, and he fell apart after being in a really good position. So he definitely looked like he had the potential to beat Maru then. And then, of course, you think about the IEM Katowice matches where Neeb was able to beat Maru. That was obviously great, and that was obviously a very solid performance from Neeb as well. But it was a performance that was maybe hindered by the fact that Maru did not have the best of days. He was losing all of his series, and you know, I don't want to take anything away from Neeb, right? But you've got to consider, does that come into effect? Does that kind of, you know, get into Maru's mindset? That was a series where Neeb eliminated Maru from the tournament with that loss that Maru took. And, of course, now Maru will be looking for revenge here in the WSG Round of 8. One of the biggest prize pool tournaments of the year, $240,000 to be won in this event as well. Being in the Round of 8 already guarantees each of these players $10,000, so you really know that there's quite a bit on the line here, you know. We're talking about doubling up money as well. If you win this series, you're already guaranteed like $20,000 or something. It's just ridiculous how much money's on the line. Oh, I might be a bit wrong, actually. I think it's actually $5,000 for the Round of 8. And then if you win this series, you win $10,000 at least. And you go up from there. So it's still a ridiculous amount of money. It's a huge best of 5, this one. We haven't really talked much about the builds. I mean, Maru is going for a pretty fast second racks here alongside a factory. So you want to be a Cyclone and a slightly later Starport. So just Marines heavily in production for the early stages here. While Neeb, well, his early tech choice was the Twilight Council. That goes straight into Blink, which is a pretty regular and straight up way to go about things. I mean, talk about upgrades you can get off a Twilight. Blink makes the most sense of all, right? Because Charge, you don't really have enough Zealots to really make Charge super useful super early. And then, you know, Glaives. Glaives can work if you want to be super aggressive, but it doesn't have longevity in the game like Blink does, which can be used right at this stage now, and then throughout the rest of the stages of the game very effectively too. Cyclone with the lock onto the Hallucinated Phoenix there, pushes away to the left-hand side, and now the Cyclone going to start pushing out in towards the middle of the map. So Maru already looking to take a bit of map control for himself. For now, he is fairly safe. The one thing he would be very weak to would be something like a Stargate, but he scouted the Twilight Council with the Reaper earlier, which means he does know what's going on. And knowing what's going on here, the Cyclone able to know safely that he's like, you know, there's no Blink just yet, right? He knows roughly the timing of it. And so he knows that there's no Stalkers that are going to blink on top of that or anything along those lines. As he does build up that Raven, the Raven which we've seen be so very useful in the TvP matchup. And all the matchups, I mean, TvT, it's like if you don't have a Raven, well, does your build order even make sense? No, not really. So we've really seen this Raven come into play a lot as of late. But I think it has a really cool place in the matchups, right? It's not something which you mass up. It's one of those units which is really... It's very good to invest into early game. and it gives you a lot of utility, and it can be used in some very fun ways if you keep it alive as well. And I like it. I think that Raven's in a very good place right now. It is powerful, but I wouldn't say it's overly powerful, and I think it's very fun to watch how it gets used as well. We've seen so many moments where the Terran players are using the Ravens as like, oh my god, he blocks the warp in or the pickup at the last second. That kind of stuff. Always really, really hype. Robobay and a Forge dropping down here from Neeb as Stalkers are pressing across the map, so he's looking to take just a little bit of map control here already. So Stalker's heading down to the bottom right. Observer coming across as well. Obviously wants to move in towards the main base here perhaps. And you see the bunker just poking away. A few of these Stalkers taking some damage. SCVs will pull in, do a little bit of repairing. One SCV goes down. Cyclone Lock-On helps to deal some damage in that one very hurt Stalker. 1 HP just gets out of Lock-On range in time. As Maru can attack his own command center for just a moment. Another Lock-On, but another blink away. Neeb not going to do anything here. Only some damage on the bunker. Didn't even really get any SCVs or so just yet. Now an Observer in the main. There's going to be a blink up here. Now Maru's already responding. Pulling his units down to the bottom. He will lose a Supply Depot, and then that should be a blink out. Gets a Cyclone, but then he loses 3 Stalkers. Oh man. Neeb. For a moment I was like, oh, he gets the Cyclone as well. Nice, but then you lose all of those Stalkers. Well, that's really painful. Everything you lose right now obviously just opens you to attack, right? You're rushing into Colossus as you go up to 3 bases. The less units you have right now as Neeb, the more complications this is going to cause. I mean, how on earth are you going to hold this push, actually? Especially when the Raven is out too. That's going to add so much utility to this. The Terran army has Stim, +1, combat shields. It is really well set up. And pushing forwards now, this does feel a bit dangerous. These Stalkers will not slow this army down much at all because they've definitely lost some numbers and they're not as much of a threat as they once were. Right now they're going to jump on top of that medevac. What's my computer doing? I don't even know. My computer just freezing up a couple times here. I don't know, guys. Sorry. Apologies. Alright, well, Maru going to continue up towards the upper left-hand side there as we do see Neeb. A couple sentries and the Colossus hanging out on the far left. And, well, Maru just going to get up onto the natural. So, here we go. This is the moment from Neeb, right? What's the Raven going to connect on? I mean, Interference Matrix on the Colossus makes the most sense. A little bit late to actually use the Interference Matrix, but there it is. It goes down, and the Colossus just wanders on forwards. Widowmine's getting some decent connections to start this off. Auto Turret's going to come down over here as well, and they're going to help kill the Colossus. Oh my god, and Maru's just going to run through the natural expansion, knocks down the power to the Robo facility and the 2 gateways, and that's going to be more and more probes dropping down. There's still this Colossus over here, and Neeb just says, yeah, I'm losing an entire mineral line. This is not going to work for me. GG's out, and Maru picks up a pretty straightforward and convincing game number 1. And that's pretty exciting, if you're a Maru fan, of course. So we're going to get into game number 2 now. Game number 2 is this game which I really wanted to cast from this series, so we're definitely going to enjoy this. But again, I like kind of seeing the full series as well, right? Because we get a little idea of what happened in game 1, what does Neeb have to be careful of. Well, let's just face it, Neeb just has to straight up sharpen up, right? He can't lose 3 Stalkers like that. He can't just die to a simple push in 7 minutes, right? This is the top level of StarCraft 2. If you're dying to these sort of pushes, what are you ever going to achieve? So, yes, Maru goes up 1-0. Let's see how Neeb can fight back, though. Heading into game 2, guys. Okay, we're going into year 0 for game number 2 on this best of 5 series. The top left-hand side, our red Terran player is Maru, going up against the blue Protoss. In the top right-hand side, we got ourselves Neeb. So, just a rough plan for this week on the YouTube channel as well, just to fill a moment at the start of this game quickly. We are going to be uploading a couple of matches from the tournaments that we had going on last week, before WESG, as well as the YouTube exclusives. Probably going to mostly be some of the WESG series that I thought were really cool, that I didn't get to cast myself already. And then probably going to be maybe an Alibo League match or 2 as well, and some stuff like that. So in general, some good content coming up here on the YouTube. Excited to keep on pushing this throughout the next month or so and continue to just see how well we can make the YouTube do. It's really exciting actually seeing it. And again, just keep on growing and all those good things. Anyways, for now we go into game number 2 and we look to see what happens here between Maru and Neeb. We go into year 0, which straight up is just a large map, right? Whenever we talk about year 0, same with King's Cove, these are large maps, and they're not just large in the sense that, okay, it takes a while to cross them. They are large in the sense that pushing into your opponent is extremely difficult to do. It's super defensive as well, the way the layout of the bases are. You can very easily split this map and take 7 bases each and just mine out. And we see that happen, you know, you can tell by the way the map is laid out, simply by the way it plays more often than not. I'd say we much more commonly see games on year 0 go beyond the 15-minute marker and towards 20, 25, 30 minutes, more often than we see games end at like the 10-minute marker, simply because, well, let's face it, what sort of attack at 10 minutes is going to really kill you? It's very difficult to get across the map here. It takes a long time. It's very easy to defend. And again, once the game goes up to 4 bases, it really seems to extend from there too, because you can take those other bases somewhat easily, somewhat kind of carefree. So our second game here in the SCV of Maru comes scouting across the map, checking up in towards the main base, of course. I mean, you still just want to confirm that there's not going to be any real shenanigans early on here. As this SCV going to go and mine away on the minerals. Just trying to be a little bit of a nuisance. Maru trying to stop the probes from being able to stack properly, only for a couple of moments, steals some of those minerals in the end, and does end up backing away out through the natural expansion, and hopefully makes it back home, although this Adept is going to chase it down. I mean, usually when you scout with this SCV timing, you usually actually, you don't usually kind of commit into the main base so much. You usually come across, you're like, okay, Nexus is here. You don't usually stick around for that long, but it's worked out here for Maru. The Adept Shade didn't have the vision to actually see the SCV, so didn't know where it had gone. So he didn't actually shade after it. And as the Reaper pops up, it's going to be blocked as well. Now the Adept will come forwards for a shot. While the Reaper was blocked, I think he does get to see that Twilight Council. Neeb continues to do this. You know, makes this Reaper wall up, which kind of helps him to stop scouting. And yet the Reaper still gets a scout because the Twilight builds right next to this pylon anyways. So that's what happened in the first game as well, I believe. Exact same situation, which is, again, a little bit amusing to see. Blink being chrono boosted out here as we see a hallucinated Phoenix of Neeb going to start heading through the top side of the map. This Reaper pops up. Sentry there, though, is going to turn it around, so Reaper doesn't really have much luck. Cyclone still on the way out. The starport going to be finishing shortly as well. And so Maru with the 1-1-1 setup here, rather than the fast second racks which he had in game number 1. It makes a lot more sense, right? Because the fast second racks, it's a bio push. You can go across the ground very easily with stim pack and so. On this map, we just talked about how that doesn't really work as well. So going into a starport right away could be a way to just set up some different form of harassment. He might actually just want to go into the Raven, which can, you know, make perfect sense too. It just means that he's prioritizing those tech units rather than a straight-up ground push. And it's going to be a Liberator to start with. So there you go. Liberator to begin, and that does come across the map pretty quickly here because they are close by air. And so it can come across and siege up this main base without too many complications. Robo facility down on the naturals. A couple extra stalkers get warped in. Neeb continuing to bring his units around here just a little bit. Reaper just up on the high ground, going to get picked off by those few stalkers. And again, that robo facility just about to finish up, so Neeb going to have the tech which he needs for the mid game here already. I mean, obviously, yes, he doesn't quite have a forge or so, but for the moment, you know, it's the correct sort of setup. He's able to get an observer out, get that started, and those stalkers, as they're about to have blink, moving across to the left-hand side. With that blink in play, obviously we know what they can do. They can blink around, they can really take that map control, be a little bit of a threat to the Terran player, pick off some units if they're stray too far forwards. Not really. I mean, there is, of course, the opportunity to maybe blink up here if you'd like to. It's a little bit riskier than it was on the last map, even though I feel like if you blink up here, you've really got to be sure there's nothing coming your way, because you can't just kite up here and then blink out from over here, right? You have to stay in this sort of area, so there's no real kind of kiting backwards, which is what he did in game number 1. He kind of kited away, and then he's like, I'll get that Cyclone. And then he lost a bunch of Stalkers, which was a bit of a mistake, right? But until then, it was actually pretty good as the Stalkers taking some tank fire. They got a couple of SCVs here. They killed a depot that was building. Now they are going to look for maybe that blink into the main bases. Oh, I love this Liberator. But a good response from Neeb, though. Moves those units away as soon as it's sieging up. And as the Observer sees the Marines in the main, and you just know there's no way you blink the Stalkers up into that and find any sort of success. So blinks back down to the low ground. We'll poke up here once again, and it's going to take a couple of shots from siege tanks now because there's 2 tanks up, and he had to wait a moment for that blink to come back. And so Neeb's Stalker's a little bit battered and bruised. Not really a lot for them to, well, do now, I think, because what are they going to do? Kill an SCV? Even if you kill an SCV, it's not that much. A Stalker goes down, and that is a real painful experience for those poor Stalkers. I mean, they're just getting battered every time they try. Meanwhile, this Liberator still sits up in the main base, and a couple sentries, a Stalker and an Adept are just sat waiting. They sit behind the mineral line as this hallucinated Phoenix of Neeb going to start coming through the top. Stalker from Neeb sitting on the watchtower, and we again just have those few stalkers sat over to the left. Cyclone locks on, kills an observer. It's actually a really nice pick-off, and it's one of the kind of, I guess not really the hidden advantage to having the Raven, but it is one of those things which really just comes as a byproduct of getting a Raven up that can be so good at casting abilities. You know, suddenly you're able to clean out observers and force gas to be spent once again on recreating map control, or you just straight up take that map control away from the Protoss player, and suddenly they're playing a little bit more blind, a little more afraid, and that really can put you into a very good spot here, as Maru has a bunch of siege tanks up. Obviously more tanks he has this game than he had last game. He's not really looking to attack just yet. Stim, +1, combat shields, all those upgrades are not done, and it doesn't really make sense to attack without those bio upgrades, as this Liberator, man, that's, as I mentioned, actually unsieges and backs away, but it's been having some fun. It's been sieged up there for a while, doesn't have any kills, and yet has still been that little something on Neeb's mind every now and then. As it backs away, probably go home to get a full repair, and then can loop around towards the third, or hit the main base again. A couple different possibilities, because it's been a while since that Liberator did anything. And so it's definitely a possibility that Neeb doesn't necessarily have a, you know, the correct mindset to deal with it right away. He might have forgotten about it. When I say the correct mindset, I'm just meaning he probably doesn't have units left behind still to deal with that Liberator. I say that as he actually does have a couple. So he has a couple units here. I think in general that's just a little bit of precaution against anything that starts flying in right now, making sure you have something rather than nothing at all. Obviously 2 Stalkers aren't going to kill 2 full medevacs of Marines and Marauders, but if it's a Widowmine job, having those 2 Stalkers already could be great. If it's a Liberator, obviously very good as well to push it back right away. So Neeb just being very cautious with that at the moment. There's a little bit of bio comes through the top, will stim forwards. Tank shot as well, and that's where Neeb just says, yep, I'm out of here, no way do I want to fight this. Now we're running through the middle of the map. We'll not be able to do too much more as the Stalkers able to turn and just say, well, yeah, if you want to push through that choke point, you're not going to have a good time. Picks off the Adept on the top side, but again, you really don't want to fight this as Maru, as the blink forwards. Oh, I feel like that was meant to target the Raven, but he doesn't get it. Raven will continue to run away. Nice stutter step from Maru as well. Those Zealots, they don't have charge, of course, so makes it a little bit easier, but it's still a nice stutter step and pulling back pretty quickly as Neeb does push Maru away to the left-hand side. Problem is, how do you ever attack into these siege tanks as Neeb? Well, you kind of don't, and that's why the game's going to start going long, because Maru can cover 3 bases with these tanks. You take this 4th base, it doesn't extend you that far forwards, and again, the game generally stretches out from there. Neeb already has the bottom right-hand base for his own 4th. That was what Maru kind of knew as well. While he was pushing forwards, he left those tanks. He knew he always had a safe position to fall back to, as long as he didn't lose all of the bio, so he had something to support the siege tanks. He kind of knew that this would be fine, so good movements. I was surprised he brought the Raven with him, because the Raven is so valuable here. If you lose that Raven, I mean, the longer the game goes on, right? One Raven isn't going to change the course of the game, right? It's not going to be like the absolute game changer every single time. But it is going to be, you know, it's still nice to have in the fight, right? Say, for example, like, I guess what I'm trying to say is, right now, this game's going late, so the Raven has less impact in each fight because the armies are larger. Compared to, say, if the Raven was to fight in part of a 2-base push, where taking out the 2 Colossus that are fighting you is super significant to the army. You know, that said, I guess as the army of Neeb grows larger as well, you do have the anti-armor missile, which will then hit more, perhaps, and so maybe you do find more value with the Raven. It's nice to have, but I don't think you just lose the game if you lose it right here. Whereas if you run for a 2-base push that relies on that Raven to be successful, then the game does get lost if you lose it. So that's all I was trying to say, because it was scary bringing it forwards with the rest of the Bioforce. I mean, it didn't go down. It didn't look like it was... There was that moment where the Stalkers blinked, and I really thought they wanted to target the Raven, and they targeted something else instead, so that wasn't so pretty. Anyways, otherwise, you have a little bit of gateway units and Colossus pushing through the rocks on the top side, opening up this pathway in towards this morphing planetary fortress. Liberators get sieged up, Zealots, Stalkers, and Sentries hanging out as there's the anti-armor missile hits onto the Zealots. Well, we're going to see those going to start charging forward here. The Storm is going to blink in. I feel like I like this position enough for Maru for the Liberators and the tanks. The Bio just pulls nicely back, and Neeb will not do anything to truly break this position. I mean, okay, you take down a couple of Liberators, but I don't think that's as big of a deal. Did you see Zealots here get cancelled off from open in? I mean, maybe just afraid of the couple of tanks, but actually I feel like they would have done well. They charged forwards. They probably killed this tank. A few SCVs as well. I kind of like the idea of warping in there for Neeb. I think I would have let it finish. Obviously was just maybe afraid that Maru had indeed already figured it out and was already on his way over. Maybe just a little bit mistimed if it happened when he was maybe fighting with this army, then maybe he really would have been, you know, feeling confident. And obviously then the Bayou units are kept busy, right? So you know for a fact they're not just going to come running in at any moment. Stalkers still pressing forward. The Zealots as well taking the charge. They can tank a little bit here. More Liberators sieging up. Stalkers coming through again. A couple shots off. Liberator does go down. So Liberator does fall. Got Cloak on the way up here from Maru as well. So getting that running. Scan into the main base. Maru just investigating what Neeb's up to. Neeb already going into the Stargate. Obviously, without an early game Stargate, this says, hey, I'm getting ready for a fleet beacon. I'm getting ready to play the real late game here. Scout factory. Obviously, at this stage, we're kind of done with any sort of factory production. At this point, you're spending your money on Liberators and air units. You know, Ghosts on the ground as well. You see a few of those on the way up, especially a Storm coming into play. A few Ghosts will definitely not go amiss. EMPs are so valuable against a Protoss player. Taking away shields, taking away energy. I mean, Ghosts, you know, EMP really is like an ability that's designed to help deal with Protoss almost. We can see a couple of Zealots in the third base. I mean, going to chase the SCVs away. A couple of Zealots in the natural as well. More than anything, just splitting this army up a little bit and then warping into the main. It pulls Maru around, and it gives Neeb the chance to once again maybe do something with his main army as he pushes through the bottom side here. Bio units on the main base do clean up those couple of Zealots that got warped in, so not a lot gained, but again, it's about the positioning opportunity that he's created. The thing is, Maru is not going to pull everything back to the main just to deal with a few Zealots. He instead just sends a little bit, and he has so much left over here. And look at this, actually. Maru knows that army is right there. And then in the face of that army, he lifts up all of those medevacts of units. He starts to go towards a drop. Liberator sieging up here. I mean, it's a good siege, but the Storms and the Blink Stalkers are going to be able to clean them up. So Maru loses a lot of Liberators. Well, you better hope that that big drop gets something done, but there is going to be recall available, so I'm not sure how much should get done here. Meanwhile, in the main base, Zealots have picked off 10 SCVs. I mean, Engineering Bay goes down, +3 armor denied, +2 ship weapons is about to be denied. Units here will deal with this as the drop comes down and will deny the 5th base of Neeb. Zealots in the meantime, though, pushing up into the 3rd. A feedback drops on the medevac, or the Raven that was flying around. Or Prism super low, but still alive here, as this is more and more SCVs dropping. There's now 14 probes killed on the other side. Those Maru will continue this onslaught with this army. Neeb starting to warp in to deal with this up 30 supply, forcing Maru's 3rd base to lift away. There's the recall of a few units to defend the 3rd base of Neeb. And Maru now going to lift up, and what's so impressive, he's lost nothing out of this entire army. So he kept all of his army alive while dealing economy damage. That's really important, especially when he took a lot of eco damage himself, to the point of lifting bases, you know, more SCVs lost than what he killed in probes. There's a lot of damage taken. Now we see Tempest on the way up, and obviously as Tempest come up here, we enter a whole new phase of this game where the Protoss player is going to be able to poke, prod, kind of just, you know, play around a little bit, and just really start to say, well, you know what, you can't just sit back and defend, because if you do that, my Liberators are just going to kill absolutely everything they can reach. Sorry, not Liberators, Tempest. My Tempests are going to kill absolutely everything they can reach. And believe it or not, guys, Tempests can reach quite a lot of things. They have pretty decent range. They're almost like a mini siege tank in the sky. They are actually crazy how far range they have. You can see with the circle around them how far they reach out. So, again, you can target Liberators from a distance. You can see the double Oracle on the way now as well. That's to establish the Revelations. And with the Revelation dropping on the army, it means you always have the vision to utilize the full range of the Tempests. So that's what Neeb is setting up for, as Maru will max out. I mean, a few moments ago we were talking about Maru being down 30 supply. Now he's up 20 as he's maxed out and Neeb is not. Neeb may intentionally be leaving some of his supply free so that you can just continue to build the Tempests. Might also want a little bit of supply free so you can warp in some Zealots in terms of harassment. While they haven't done a lot much this game, there's definitely still something which is, you know, worth keeping in mind here. Looks like those Zealots are actually already on the way to the bottom left-hand side. There is a Prism with High Templars and Storm coming over. And let's see what he does here. Oh my god, that Prism has to be really careful, though. The first High Templar actually goes down. The second one too, and the third. Prism gets away with the 4th Templar, but honestly, I mean, the damage is good, right? But the thing is, it's not killing damage. It's damage. It's just damage, right? There's no kills in this. He's going to be able to heal this up with the medevacs, and while it does drain the medevac energy, it just kind of feels like you lost the 3 High Templar, right? So you're draining energy for actual gas units, which are very important to keep alive because they are better as you build up the energy and more storms on them once again, right? There you go. You can see the Tempest really coming into their own now, already hitting those Liberators from a distance. A few Vikings have been brought into play, though. I say a few, there's quite a lot. Maru building 4 Vikings at a time. More Ghosts on the way out. And Neeb still just pressing on the top side here. As we see Liberators and Vikings pressing forwards. Big siege of those Liberators. The High Templar and the Archons going to back away. Observer gets caught there as well. Nice pick off on the Observer. That actually does just take away. I mean, yes, there's Revelations, but, you know, if the Revelation fades, maybe then it takes away a bit of the confidence of the Cross player as well. These High Templar, by the way, they've only just got Storm up, so they have one Storm each. First split is good for Maru. Second split is pretty good. Third split was amazing, almost like he knew where it was going to go. And it feels like he's got a lot of bio left to keep fighting now, and he is going to be able to get one of these Archons. As extra Zealots warp in, it looks as though that'll be it for the moment, though. And, well, he's going to get a few more because the rest of the army's hanging back while a few Zealots keep running forwards. Meanwhile, again, the Tempests are just going huge on the top side of the map. Maru was starting to respond with more units down to the bottom, but I'm not even sure if that's the right decision because you do need to leave something up here to deal with this Tempest Colossus army. And this is the stage of the game where both players' armies become so difficult to control, right? The Terran army, the Protoss army, like this is not just split up your units and A move in and, you know, micro a couple back or something. This is multiple hotkeys being used, multiple different subsets of units. You're even going to be seeing a defensive nuke coming down here, as Maru just wants to keep Neeb positioned away from this spot. And you see the Revelation drops, and oh, it doesn't target the Ghost with the Tempest. Doesn't really need to, though, because the nuke's not going to hit anything as the Vikings do come through. A couple of shots traded out, one Tempest falls. Storm's dropping, and this army did push in once again, but it's going to be enough bio to clean it up, so good shutdown by our Terran player. Maru defending on the bottom left-hand side, while still dealing with the army on the top, and that's another level of just control here, right? Not only are you controlling this large, difficult, complicated army, you're also doing it while defending / attacking on the bottom side of the map as well. With this, with that little force that was down here. Shadow Stride, by the way, has just been upgraded. So Neeb's going to run to the bottom left, and he's going to go with these DTs. He's going to blink on top of the Planetary Forest, but that's a lot of DTs. Scan comes down. I mean, now it kind of feels like he needs the blink to get away, though, not the blink to get there in the first place. Just because the blink initially, right? I mean, he could have just walked onto the Planetary and done exactly the same. 15 SCVs and Planetary dead, but that was so many DTs, that was so much gas. That's a lot of the back of Neeb lost because of the scans that were able to clean those DTs up. Neeb's army posturing up at the top. Still has been for a while, going back and forth, around and around. Maru just looking to keep on defending. Sets up a Liberator over here as he replaces the Planetary Fortress that was lost with just an Orbital that he had nearby. Another Orbital here going to land. Big EMPs, and the Vikings going to be able to push this back, and this is huge. I mean, a lot of Colossus are going to start going down. Oh my god, so many Colossus going down. And a Tempest as well. I mean, that's absolutely critical. Neeb has just lost everything in his army. Not everything, I guess, but he's lost a bit of everything. And instantly you can see his gas bank has absolutely drained. I mean, that's also kind of because he just blinked like so many DTs into this base down here. We hadn't seen DTs before this point, and now he's lost 13 of them. So it's a lot of gas lost on DTs, and while Neeb has been mining comfortably off of these bases we haven't really talked about because, well, what's happened on Neeb's side of the map recently? Nothing. You know, while that's going, while this is all going on, I mean, this base and this base are mining from Maru, so Neeb's mining more, but he's not trading that well, and this is going to be another example of that. Zealot's just kind of running in to do what? Get some ghosts to half hit points? Absolutely wasteful. Just Zealots achieved nothing here, unfortunately, for Neeb, and again, this kind of reminds me of when he was playing the Katowice qualifiers. He looked really good, he looked as though he was going to win, he had a great position in one of the maps, and then he just sort of makes these mistakes in these fights, which doesn't really do anything for him, as right now a nuke. I mean, the Zealots come up here, but there's nothing in range, or no vision in range. There's the Oracle Revelation dropping down. The nuke lands, doesn't kill any workers, they pulled away. Neeb was aware of where that nuke was going, but I mean, that's one of the threats now as well. As more nukes come down, it's something Neeb has to keep on checking for. He has to keep on trying to figure out. It's not easy as we see a Liberator from Maru coming around up the top side, turns around to siege up. A little bit of harassment here and there. Advanced Ballistics is in play, of course. We've got Tempest and all sorts of there. You need to go and deal with those Liberators. Although for the moment, this one picks up 4, 5, 6 kills. Now we'll go down to the Stalkers blinking in underneath it. Not a lot of abusable spots I feel on this map with ranged libs. There's not a lot of airspace behind the bases. So you can't really sit. Maybe here you could sit and be kind of annoying, but it's hard to get in that location for Liberator in the first place. To be able to siege up and to, again, be that frustrating. And here's another, so actually maybe we will see that happening. Not only he's just going to siege up over here to hit this base. That's also a possibility because he does know about that base. He doesn't know about the base in the bottom right. So Neeb a little bit in the dark at the moment as the Liberator sieges. Sorry, Maru a little bit in the dark at the moment as the Liberator sieges. Obviously now we'll see a pylon here, sees a warp in, so he should be fairly aware. Although he is going to pull the Liberator away for the moment. What's that? More Zealots on the bottom left-hand side. Ooh, that's actually a Warpism with a High Templar inside. EMP lands the second. It tries to drop the High Templar, so that all goes down. 12 SCVs though. In the meantime, 8 probes are dropping. That Liberator finally killed off here, but let's face it, 8 probes, take that any day of the week. Obviously a little bit of a shame to lose the 12 SCVs, but still nice to have the 8 probes in response to those 12 SCV losses, rather than just like, oh, I lost 12 SCVs and nothing else happened. Well, again, Neeb definitely still feels like he has a fairly good spot, right? We're talking about 7 bases on his side of the map. He's looking really comfortable at the moment, I feel. Whereas we look at Maru and he's like, well, you know, I mean, Maru's army is good, don't get me wrong. It's Viking Liberator Ghost. It's expensive. It's taken a huge amount of time to build up into. In fact, it's worth a lot more than the Protoss army is worth. The problem is I just feel Neeb can pick away and chip away for days with these long-range units such as the Tempest and the Colossus. Pushing it up here. That's something as well. And, you know, Neeb is the aggressor, right? And he's decided where these fights go. Oh my god, huge GMPs again. We saw that last time. Already a Colossus goes down. Liberator is going to keep on sieging. I mean, obviously you've got to be afraid of those storms. And that's the one thing that's really keeping this clump of Vikings away. They are really clumped up. The splash damage there would be absolutely huge. We're going to be seeing more nukes getting lined up. One down to the bottom side. Neeb already responds, pulling away instantly. 5 probes have gone down, maybe even to a nuke that we just didn't see because I've been distracted with these larger fights. This game starting to get a little bit hectic as Zealots do come in. That Ghost gets cleaned out. And nice tries from Maru though, right? He's trying to pull the attention of Neeb away, and that attention of Neeb being pulled away gives you opportunities to hit EMPs across the entire army, like what he hit before when he was able to capitalize on a fight. That's a nice EMP again. But then the Tempest just back away, and again, you could not possibly justify chasing in with the Vikings when there is this many storms available. I mean, you sit on the edge of the Vikings like this, and this is really nice. Gets 2 free Tempests. Big hits on the Tempest, and may even chase down for one more here. Now the High Templar don't have many storms left. One Ghost close forwards, but it's not the Ghost with energy enough to EMP. There's the EMP. Now there's only 1 or 2 High Templars with storms. Disruptors on the way out from Neeb, and I love this introduction because it's going to force Maru to split away and pull backwards, rather than just sitting in the forward position, sitting defensively and just saying, okay, yeah, I'm going to attack into you now. Oh no, I'm going to pull away. That's going to force Maru to pull back when he wants to fight, and stop him from ever really being able to deal damage like he wants to. Bottom side base here obviously cancelled. It's a lot of Zealots though. If you lose all these Zealots and you lose those DTs, this becomes expensive again, and these units just go running on forwards. Everything goes down, man. There's actually a ton of supply because there's a lot of DTs and a lot of Zealots. This wasn't just like 8 or 10 Zealots. It was like 10 Zealots and 4 to 6 DTs. 13 more probes dropping as Maru has lost so many workers this game. Do you want to wager a guess? Above or below 100? I think below, but not by much. 71, yeah. It's close, right? 71 workers. It's a fair amount. It's just crazy because he keeps rebuilding them so consistently. He's very good at that. We're missing probes going around down somewhere on the map. Looks like it was over here. I'm not sure what to exactly. We haven't had a nuke or anything, so maybe just a Liberator showing up and getting even more probe kills. It's so difficult to track all of those when there's so much movement around the map at any single point. Maru's almost mined out of this base. He's got 80, 90 gas on it, a few hundred minerals. I don't think he's still bothered about losing this base anymore, defending it, so pulls away as the bio stims in through the bottom side. And this looks as though he's going to get a base in revenge for his base that has been onslaughted in the bottom left of the map for the last little while. So this base goes down here. A couple of assimilators continue to drop. The top side disruptors coming in, but not able to connect on anything just yet. A few more probes have gone down. The Bioforce still pressing forwards, and a couple of Zealots also in some trouble. There's a full-on recall out of Neeb to come back home. And for the first time in a long time, it feels like Maru might actually just have some time to breathe on the top side of the map. Looks like we're going to just completely switch up positions. It's going to be the run-bys on the top while the main army pushes in on the bottom. Obviously before it was the other way around as Vikings come forward, but they take some shots and they don't deal any. So dangerous, these disruptors. If they land on the center of those ghosts, that is so costly for the Terran player. Ghosts are so expensive and they take a long time to build up into good numbers. Maru has essentially been building up towards this army for the last 10 minutes or so, really. We started this production quite some time back. Anti-armor missile hits the High Templar, doesn't do much. Ghost still pressing forwards, couple probes going down. A few extra results have been warped in as well. More Vikings being produced here from Maru. So again, more and more Vikings up. Couple of Liberators on the way. Army from Neeb pushing through the bottom side, coming past the watchtower. A few more High Templar joining up with the rest of this here. Nuke lines up on the bottom side of the map as we see a couple of the Oracles and the Templars just left here. Maru's going to cancel that nuke. Says, okay, actually I can push forwards. In that case, don't want to try and nuke myself, right? Guess the other Oracles, that takes away the Revelations. Kind of forces more Oracles to be made rather than rebuilding Tempest here. It still looks as though it's going to land, but on what? Answer is not. Maybe some of these probes will go down. Yeah, 3 probes caught in the crossfire, in the devastation zone. 5 Vikings still building their time. Liberator sieging up. The Vikings come in. Tempest picked off. Turning around here. I love this. Just catches some reinforcements. Don't think that's intentional by Neeb. Just a bad rally out of Maru. And both these guys, while being max, are absolutely destroying each other's banks. And that's just because they're both building like such expensive units every single time here. That's actually some big EMPs out of Maru. A lot of High Templar losing their energy. SCVs turning around to repair up the Planetary Fortress. Another EMP or 2 going down. Those Colossus still hanging out over to the side. They're actually the safest of all so far. I mean, now there's only 2 Tempests left. This army of Neeb really feels like it's taking some hits. I guess Maru's army is smaller than Neeb's. I guess Neeb just has a lot of reinforcements, maybe. 14 SCVs killed in the fight yet again, and Maru is losing so many SCVs throughout this game. Now that's 86 he's lost, as he only gets a couple probes in return this time, rather than, you know, the 9 or so that he had last time we talked about that. As Neeb presses forwards again, just waiting for those High Templars to get some more energy, replace a couple of the Disruptors lost during the fight. Again, I love the idea of the Disruptors. I love what Neeb's trying to do right now, but Maru is continuing to just defend. This is so difficult as a Terran because you cannot possibly stand in a storm for one moment too long, right? You can't possibly send those Vikings too far forward. Your Stalkers come underneath them. You can't not dodge from a Disruptor because if you lose your Ghosts, the game might just end. It's a great play so far by Maru. Another Disruptor is run away from. There is 2 in the army, 3 in the army actually. No, sorry, 4! Well, they're all mixed in. There's so much going on. Now there's 3. 1 goes down. But yeah, with so many in the army, you can kind of always be firing a Purification Nova and always have that threat on the map to kind of, you know, say to the Terran player, look, you know, I don't think you should push into me right here. You know, you definitely can't try and take a fight because if you do, you're going to have quite a few units blowing up out of nowhere. Now, Stalkers pulling forwards. The Liberators were not sieged. The MPs on the Stalkers initially means the Liberators will now do some one-shotting, actually getting quite a few kills. So Maru picking up a few little bits of damage there. Vikings coming in again, try and chase back the rest of this army. Stalkers have to blink away too. And more Liberators still pouring out from Maru. We talked about how this game can go split map. Right now, every single base on the map is being mined. There are bases, which in fact, there's only a couple bases not mined out here from Neeb. These 2 right here. So Neeb only has a couple of non-mined out bases, which means his income is really going to start dropping off. And you can see it, right? Like 1,600 to 1,000 versus 1,500 to 200. Neeb barely has any gas. This is only a single gas geyser as well. It's not mining right now either. Neither is this base in a moment as it goes down. So at the moment, Neeb actually has no gas. He has no assimilators up here. None of his other bases with gas still inside. So Neeb has 0 gas income. And all of a sudden, I mean, this has sort of crept up on us. But yeah, all of a sudden, this game is going to get into this sort of weird spot where, realistically, Neeb can't build anything else now. Only structures to try and base trade it, as we do see Libs and Vikings left over here. It might just be desperation time for Neeb, though. As crazy as it is to say, Maru has traded better in this game, and significantly better too. 8,000 resource loss difference. That's a huge margin between the 2 players, and that's why Maru is still mining and looking comfortable, money in the bank, whereas Neeb is absolutely just dead of income, especially in the gas can. I cannot believe he's got 29 gas, and that's all he's got to play with. Even minerals now, though. He's on 16 probes. He lost his 2 bases that had minerals to mine from, and so Neeb really doesn't have a lot to do with this now. I mean, now he's going to be kind of backed into a corner. What do you do? You kind of, I mean, the problem is if you try and go away, if you try and go back home, it's not going to go that well for you because then you're defending nothing. Lots of EMPs coming down, some good disruptor shots. Actually, Zealots are going to start getting on the Ghost on the right side. Vikings will have to land. The Liberators still firing up in the skies. A couple of storms that dropped down were mostly good. There was one that actually landed on the Protoss army that might have actually hurt Neeb a little bit here. There's still some Zealots left over, and Neeb has taken a hell of a fight. As Maru's reinforcements come through, it'll probably be a little bit too much. fact, he still has a couple of ghosts around the side, and as everything just gathers together, doesn't even necessarily need reinforcements. It's a bit too much, and Maru picks up a game number 2 to put him up 2-0 in the series. I mean, one absolutely crazy display of skill here by the two of them. Neeb to just continue that attack through and through and through, never give Maru a chance to think about dropping, but then Maru to trade well enough and to make the right units, the right calls, the right fights, all of that to go right for him to be able to do so well in this game is extremely impressive. I mean, we saw other games on this map between Terran and Pros players, and I just feel like he had nowhere near that level of, you know, I'm going to survive and I'll win this game, just you wait. GG's, Maru takes game 2, it's a best of 5, we'll go into the third map of the series in just a moment. Let's see what Neeb has to try and pull him back from third game of our best of 5. To the top left-hand side, the red Terran player Maru up against the blue Protoss. On the bottom right-hand side, we got ourselves a Neeb. Okay, so third game of the series. Again, always, if you're enjoying the cast and so on, let us know in the comments down below what you liked about it, what you'd like to see, if there's any games from WSG in particular you'd like me to cover. I was kind of thinking of casting one of the really long games that I maybe already casted, but kind of using it as a way to just talk about WSG as an experience. If that's something you guys might be interested in, then let me know. We do get this set up and rolling. Maru and Neeb, game 3. Let's enjoy it. Again, some other matches I'm going to cast this week. I think I'm going to cast a little bit of that Serral versus Dark series that happened, and there's another couple cool matches as well. Again, if there's any players in particular you want to see games from, though, from WESG that you want me to cast, then again, comment section is definitely the place to let me know. Always reading those comments, love to hear what you guys have to say. It's awesome, as you do see the probe of Neeb heading in toward the upper left-hand side. He is going to be moving up here towards the main and having a little bit of a scout to see what's going on Port Alexander. I feel like Neeb, again, was in a great spot. There was just a couple of fights where those EMPs landed and all the Colossus and Tempest died, especially around the time when all of those Dark Templar attacked the Planetary Fortress in the bottom left corner, and I really don't feel... I just feel like, right, imagine those DTs just walked the Planetary, they kill it, okay, then they blink away, then you have all of those DTs still alive, whereas what actually happened is he blinked onto the Planetary completely unnecessarily, and suddenly he loses... I mean, he doesn't lose the DTs then and there, right? But then, as he tries to get away, blinks on cooldown, and so the bio units just kill him, and he's like, oh, that's not good. And it's tough, I guess, because I guess he wanted to get onto it ASAP before the units started to kind of figure out they were there, and it's one of those ones where I guess maybe it just looks bad with the way that it went, but it might have been the right decision in the first place anyways. We didn't see much of the blink DTs beyond that. And I really feel like it was just the moment where Neeb just lost so much of his economy, or so much of his bank, that all of a sudden this wasn't pretty, and then obviously a couple of bad fights as well didn't exactly help him out. SCV from Maru down to the bottom side. We see that Nexus chrono boosting out a probe. Stargate just about halfway done, as we are going to be seeing the starport coming in from Maru, proxied on the bottom side of the map here. So already some reactor Hellions, and with a starport we're expecting a medevac and quite a bit of aggression to start coming out here. Obviously dropping Hellions into the main base and so on can be a very frustrating little something to try and deal with, as the Reaper from Maru just sat out the front of the natural as well. The Adept from Neeb just going to move backwards and forwards a little bit. And again, that Adept just going to be moving in towards the ramp and just trying to pick up some info, and he does see Reacted Factory, and I think he saw a Hellion as well, so you should know about it, and I think that's why he's running away so hectically here, as the Hellions begin to give chase. He'll turn and fight, knowing the Shade will continue to carry his Adept away, and there's that medevac coming up. That's what the Hellions want to try and jump into here to get in position to deal some damage. There's the Adept shading forwards from Neeb as well. TK is just coming in at the front, the Hellions down the bottom side. The medevac going to finish up any second now, and this probe also going to drop. So probe goes down. Widow Mine's just continuing along here. There's that medevac loading up these Hellions and going to drop into the main base. A whole mineral line of probes set up at the moment, and well, them Hellions going to dive straight on in. A couple probes already down. 3 workers. Then he hits the Nexus. I feel like that was a bit of a misclick. I don't think it was targeting the probe. Only 2 Hellions left with 5 workers killed. It's not that many. Another medevac being built, though. Not a Liberator or any sort of, like, harassment follow-up in that regard. And so it looks like we're probably going to have some Widow Mine drops now to continue this on. There's Widow Mines, actually 2 of them already walking across the map. So yeah, going to be continuing to drop here. So those 2 Widow Mines coming up. This medevac still dragging this Oracle away to the top side. Depths warping in on the natural. There is a Phoenix, and we are going to see this Phoenix able to get a couple tags on this medevac as it boosts in towards the main base. Doesn't he realize this? He might not. Okay, he does pull away, and the probe's not going to be, well, being too successful here. Sorry, the probe's actually doing just fine, right? Only 2 workers lost. A couple of Widow Mines still left there, as we do see 2 more Widow Mines coming through the top side. Maru not building anything else off of his medevac, off of his starport now. Those 2 gates in the front, couple of assimilators on the natural. And so what these Widow Mines do is they come on in. Let's see if Neeb's paying attention. 2 Widow Mines just dropping straight in. 1 Widow Mine's going to blow up this first. Oh my god. 11 workers. I mean, the first set of probes going down is painful. Then a couple more on top of it. Okay, now there is another medevac on the way up, so maybe he wants to continue this, but he does have to be careful of the counterattack. For now, one Adept goes down, but it does cost him a Widow Mine. Pylon already positioned up here. There's a bunker up. That's going to be huge. The Widow Mine defense as well. Well, let's see if the bunker with very few units inside of it will defend. Again, those Widow Mines can only do so much. A couple more Widow Mines burrowing in the back as well. And, man, these Adepts are taking some damage. Another couple in the background. But honestly, I mean, the Widow Mines are just doing so much splash across the map as well. Widow Mines have picked off another 7 probes. He's keeping the Phoenix back at home, as we do see Maru has pulled his SCVs away, so he hasn't lost any workers yet. He's going to pull forwards and fight that Stalker over there with the SCV surround. So kills this Stalker, and well, now there's only that 1 low health Adept left. Oracle's in the main. Going to kill the SCV, building the missile turret. So far, 45 SCVs to the 34 probes. Already a huge lead from Maru. Yes, he has had some lost mining time, but obviously so has Neeb, pulling those probes all over the place to try and keep them alive. And the issue is Neeb doesn't really have any tech. He's only on the Stargate at the moment, which isn't really pretty for him. Phoenix coming over here as the starport lifts up and starts to head back up to the top side of the map. +1 attack on the way. Neeb is still warping in Adepts. Kind of feels like he wants to get more damage done, but I don't know if he's got that opportunity. Sets up a robo facility as well. Nexus dropping down on the 3rd base. Well, let's see. There's Adept's going to go shading on by, but I mean, there's a fully saturated mineral in here. Bio, Stim is in. Oh my god. Neeb just GG's out. He doesn't even lose anything. I think it's just the fact that he sees there's so much mining and the Stim already finished, and he's just like, yeah, I don't survive any sort of counterattack here. Because being that many workers down, having had more lost mining time throughout the game as well, Neeb is 100% in the worst position in this game. And unfortunately, he just knows it as well. And, down 0-2, maybe he should try and, stay in the tournament and keep it going. But I think he just knows against someone like Maru that this is as good as over. So, you guys might think, bit of an early GG. Yeah, maybe a little early, but not really devastating or anything. That's it. Maru took down Neeb 3-0 over in WESG. And I hope you guys enjoyed the cast here today of this best of 5. Again, let me know what you think. Let me know what you think of what else we should cast. If there's any other players or matches from WSG you'd like to see. We have the full replay pack available, so we have all of that open to us. So if you've got anything in particular you'd like to point out, let me know down in the YouTube comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time. Again, YouTube exclusives are going to continue on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, as well as other uploads from the stream, etc. on every other day of the week. 7 uploads a week at the minute is what we're going for. We might go back to doing a few more kind of multiple videos a day, but it kind of just depends. At the moment, I don't have a lot of content because I've been away for a week. So we're going to stick with 1 upload a day for a little while and see what we do out of that. So guys, thank you for checking out the Maru vs. Neeb series.